As he tells me, my cough sounds horrible.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Glasgow City Council. We'll begin if you'll stand, and we'll pledge the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll remain standing. Councilman Wilkinson will lead us in our invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious and wise God, we come to you tonight to thank you for the privilege of serving this community and its people. We ask you to bless and watch over our community and all of its citizens. Lord, we ask you to grant us wisdom, fairness, and understanding as we review and evaluate the city's budget tonight. Please be with us and help us be faithful stewards of the resources entrusted to us and always be mindful of the diverse needs of the people we serve. As always, Lord, we thank you for the dedicated city employees. May they know how deeply we appreciate their work and service. And lastly, thank you for the colleagues gathered here tonight beside me. Bless them as they make the best decisions for the good of our community. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Randy. Be seated. I will ask that Clerk Danielle Cashin will call the roll.
Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Trigg? Norris?
Here.
Shoemaker?
Here.
Neal?
Here.
Wilkinson?
Here.
Bunnell?
Present.
Burris? And we have Tommy on video chat tonight. And Lowry.
Here.
Okay. Thank you all for being here, and we have certainly a quorum, so we can kind of move forward with tonight's business. And the first thing we need to do is to approve the agenda that we had sent out earlier for you all to see where we're going to go tonight. So you've had a chance to look over the proposed agenda. I will entertain a motion that we approve the agenda for presentation tonight.
Motion, Lowry.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Norris.
Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor of proceeding with the proposed agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, so we have an agenda, and we're going to move right into it right now with the first item on the agenda to be approved, the minutes of our special call meeting that we had back on Tuesday, May the 27th. You've had those in your packet since Thursday. I will entertain a motion that we approve those minutes as presented.
Motion.
Bunnell.
Okay, we've got a motion from Councilman Bunnell and Councilman Kirkpatrick seconded that. So is there any discussion on the minutes of that meeting? All right, so the minutes will go into the record. I'll take the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, the minutes will be entered into the record, Clerk Cashin, for all to have to refer to. We don't have presentations tonight, but we do have a special celebration, a swearing-in ceremony. I'm going to make my way around front. I'm going to ask Chief Guy Howie to come to the podium, and we'll move around here.
Good evening, Council. Mayor, it's my honor to introduce Josh Harden. He is a police officer with the City of Glasgow for 6 years. He's from Columbia, Kentucky. He is married to his wife, Kara, who is here tonight, along with their one-year-old daughter named Everly. Josh has been with us now 6 years, and during his time at the police department, he's earned several awards: Governor's Award for Impaired Drivers and 2 Highway Safety Awards and 1 Life-Saving Award. He's completed PTO training and has volunteered on 2 different disasters, both in eastern and western Kentucky, for floods and tornadoes. And he has recently completed a school as a firearms instructor. It's my honor to introduce tonight Josh Harden, from patrol officer to sergeant. If you'll step forward.
We think that's all we like to
Your pen.
success. I think by having this rank, this will make always a real tricky operation here. Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate, Chief, you recognizing, and I really appreciate some of Glasgow's finest here tonight to see their compadre receive this promotion, and it's nice to have them here with us tonight at Glasgow City Hall. We have some old business to get to here next. Rich, if you want to talk about these, one first reading and one second reading.
First item is a second reading of an ordinance dealing with animal control, and I'll be reading from an ordinance summary. This ordinance repeals the existing Chapter 90 of the city's Code of Ordinances and adopts a new Chapter 90 which updates, adds to, and rectifies some inconsistencies in the prior ordinance. This ordinance adds a number of definitions to help in the interpretation of the ordinance. It outlines the powers of the Animal Control Department. It adds a new article dealing with the torture of dogs or cats. It defines torture for purposes of enforcement, establishes the offenses for cruelty to animals first and second degree, and clarifies what is not a valid defense to those offenses. This ordinance adds a new article dealing with pre-conviction seizure and impoundment of animals. It adds a new article dealing with post-conviction forfeiture of animals. It adds a new article requiring dogs to be on a leash or properly confined on the owner's property to prevent running at large, and it establishes penalties for violations thereof. The penalties are a sliding scale, the first offense being a $50 fine, fourth and subsequent offenses being $250 plus the possibility of jail time. This ordinance adds a section establishing penalties for violations relating to the prohibiting of livestock running at large, again a sliding scale for offenses, first offense being a $100 fine, fourth and subsequent offenses being a $500 fine in a 12-month period. This ordinance adds a section clarifying that businesses utilizing goats for targeted grazing shall not be in violation of the no livestock prohibition. It adds a section making it unlawful to keep roosters in the city limits, and it adds a section establishing penalties for fowl running at large, again the same sliding scale as with dogs and cats. It adds a section establishing penalties for violating provisions related to the number of dogs or cats permitted at one residence, again the same sliding scale for the penalty for that section. It adds a section making it a nuisance to own, keep, or harbor any pet which does one or more specific actions outlined in the ordinance, such as excessive barking. It adds a new article dealing with the sale of dogs or cats and requiring an occupational license under certain circumstances. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law.
You've heard second reading of this ordinance, repealing Chapter 90 of the city's Code of Ordinances. I would entertain a motion that we approve this second reading.
Motion Lowry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Neal. I will ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this second reading. I'm sorry, discussion. Any discussion on this before we take the vote on that? Is there any discussion, Chief, that you would like to bring up? And of course, we got Shelley is here with us, and we have several people from Brawa. I don't know if there's anything from a discussion standpoint that we want to do before we vote on the second reading.
No, sir, just that this ordinance that she's worked on so hard to move forward and brings us up to date and makes things a whole lot smoother for them, takes a lot of the gray area out of it, and really moves us forward as it relates to animal control.
All right, very good. Now, I'll call the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Oh, we do have, is this a roll call?
Yeah, second.
Okay. Okay, second reading. Roll call vote. Danielle?
Neal?
Yes.
Wilkinson?
Yes.
Burris? Fennell?
Yes.
Lowry?
Yes.
Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Trigg? Norris?
Yes.
Shoemaker?
Can I ask a question?
Well,
No, you can't. We're voting.
Oh, I can't now? Okay. Yes.
Okay, so we have the ordinance second reading that has passed. All right, now we'll move forward to new business. Rich, you want to talk about the first reading of this budget amendment?
Yes, sir. This is a first reading of an ordinance that amends the current budget ordinance for fiscal year July 1, 2024 through 6/30/2025. Be it hereby ordained by the City of Glasgow that its annual budget for July 24 through June 30, 2025 is hereby amended as follows. Section 1, there is hereby received into the unappropriated general fund the sum of $271,907.49 to the administrative miscellaneous revenue account for the Glasgow Airport grants. Section 2, there is hereby transferred from the unappropriated general fund the same amount, $271,907.49, to the miscellaneous expense account for the Glasgow Airport reimbursement of grants. Section 3, there is hereby received into the unappropriated general fund $2,000 into the general fund police department account, other revenues for donations. Section 4, there is hereby transferred from the unappropriated general fund $9,200 into the general fund police department technical equipment account for a bit defender. Section 5, there is hereby transferred from the unappropriated general fund $1 million using account number 010-1110-6985 administrative sanitation landfill transfer to return funds from previous transfer. Section 6, there's hereby transferred to the unappropriated general landfill and sanitation fund $1 million using account number 085-4430-6910 landfill general fund transfer to move funds back from previous transfer. Section 7, there is hereby transferred from the unappropriated sanitation landfill fund $87,900, of which $45,000 is moved into the landfill maintenance and repair account and $42,900 moved into the landfill equipment parts account. Section 8, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law.
Okay, you heard the first reading of this ordinance. It's called a budget amendment, and I would first of all entertain a motion that we approve this budget amendment.
Motion by Nail.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, where the floor is open for discussion. There being no discussion, then I'll call the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The budget amendment has been passed on first reading.
Next item is a first reading of the new annual budget proposed and the message being prepared and delivered to the City Council for fiscal year July 1, 2025 through 6/30/2026. I'll try to summarize it as best I can. You will see there, beginning with the administrative department, there are 15 city departments that comprise the general fund. And the revenues for all of those departments estimated for 2025, 2026 are $26,049,504. There's estimated expenses for the new fiscal year out of those 15 city departments of $26,037,874. However, there is an estimated carryover from this current fiscal year into next year of $8,251,725, and therefore there is an estimated carryover for at the end of this upcoming fiscal year of $8,263,335. Then the next item, O11, is capital projects. The estimated carryover from previous year, $1,492,637. No estimated revenues. Estimated expenses at $800,000, which would leave an estimated carryover for the next year at $692,637. The plaza has an estimated carryover of $169,584, estimated revenues of $360,000, estimated expenses $449,929, and an estimated fund balance carryover at the end of this new fiscal year, $79,655. Estimated carryover from this current budget year, $397,177 for the municipal road aid. Estimated revenues for this coming fiscal year, $300,000. Estimated expenses at $330,000, with an estimated carryover after this new budget year of $367,177. The next item is the CLEF fund for the police and fire. Estimated carryover from our current budget year, $62,671. Estimated revenues for the upcoming budget year, $511,399. Estimated expenses for the upcoming fiscal year, $489,395, with an estimated carryover looking into the next budget year of $84,675. The GEDL fund, estimated carryovers from current fiscal year of $1,258,019. Estimated revenues for our upcoming budget year of $80,400. No estimated expenses, and therefore there's projected an estimated carryover into the next budget cycle of $1,338,419. The municipal cemetery account, 027, has an estimated carryover from this budget year of $111,164. Estimated revenues for the upcoming budget year, $435,000. Estimated expenses for the upcoming budget year, $437,133, and an expected carryover for the following budget year of $109,031. The Perpetual Upkeep Fund, 028, has an estimated carryover from this budget year of $532,846. Estimated revenues for the upcoming budget year, $16,000. No estimated expenses, and therefore a expected carryover into the next budget year of $548,846. The Sanitation Landfill Fund, 085, account number, estimated carryovers from this budget year, $2,453,313. Estimated revenues of $6,157,930 for our upcoming budget year. Estimated expenses for the upcoming budget year of $5,071,955, and therefore an estimated carryover for the next calendar year of $3,539,288. The Post-Closure Fund has an estimated carryover of $6,543,156 from this current budget year. Estimated revenues going into the new year of $105,000. No estimated expenses for the new budget year. Therefore, an estimated carryover to the next budget calendar of $6,648,156. Lastly, all of those totaled, the estimated year-end balances, a carryover from this current budget year of $21,272,292, estimated total revenues for the upcoming budget year of $34,015,233, estimated expenses for the new budget year of $33,616,286, with an estimated carryover for the next budget year of $21,671,239. This ordinance shall take effect as of July 1, 2025, according to passage and publication as required by law. A copy of this information, the entire budget, proposed budget, and additional background materials are available for public inspection at City Hall.
All right, first thing I'll do is I'll entertain a motion that we approve the first reading of this budget.
Motion, Vanel.
Is there a second?
Second.
From Councilman Neal. Okay. Now, the next thing that I will do is, since we have a motion and a second, it's up on the floor for discussion. Everybody has had this budget. It was hand-delivered to you all where you had time to go over it. And the budget also was presented in detail, line by line, at the last Finance Committee meeting. And we even had a couple of members of the council there, so I'm really tickled with the interest in this budget. But the floor is now open for discussion before we consider taking the vote on the first reading.
Mayor Royce, just a couple of items I'd like to make on behalf of the Finance Committee. Number one, when we look at a budget, there are really three components of that. Number one, we've got to provide for essential services, for our citizens of Glasgow. Number two, we've got to make sure that we're doing a good job with maintenance, maintaining what we own. So you have essential services and you have maintenance. But at the same time, you've got to look for revenue areas. And so, in a budget, always a challenge to balance all of these areas. We know we've got to provide for, again, essential services, keep up what we have so it doesn't get in a state of disrepair, and then continue to look for revenue sources. And that's obviously being with ad valorem tax or net profit taxes or other taxes we receive from the citizens, as well as lots of grants. And so revenue sources are very big to this budget. As the city attorney has just spoke of our fund balances that we estimate, when you take a look at our fund balance ending for the projected, the $21.6 million, that's a reflection of past budgets and operation of the city. And we're very fortunate that we have personnel in the city who are good stewards of dollars. They plan well, they carry out well, and we've been fortunate over the years to accumulate a nice fund balance. And so in this budgeting process, I do want to commend the work of the Finance Department for Stephanie and Maddie on their work, and then all of the department heads, the various supervisors, and obviously all the staff on that. So that this coming budget we have, as you have looked at the budget in our conversation in the Finance Committee meeting on last Wednesday, we have excess revenue over expenses, so that would be on the positive side, just shy of $400,000, $398,947 to be exact. So it is a tight budget, if you would say, looking to break even. We are. There are several items that we're looking to close out that we began in the last budget cycle, the one that we're still in until the end of the month. Projects in American Legion and the Farmers Market, and then work we'll be doing at the Johnson property. Revenue in this budget is up 13%. Expenses are down 12%. I think we've got a realistic budget that the mayor and the staff have all put together. I think there's a lot of proactive items in here. We're flat on our occupational tax, our ad valorem tax, our net profits tax. So there's not a lot of growth in the revenue area from those general operations. 71% of our general fund is made up of the license and permits. So when we talk, what's bringing in the money to the city, it's the folks that come here every day and work in here and operate their business in our city. and we owe a lot to that. 47% of our general fund revenue just comes from people that work here within the city limits of Glasgow. So a big portion, almost half, of the general fund revenue is coming from the occupational license fee, or as some people refer to as a payroll tax. We have a major purchase in this forthcoming budget. That's the fire truck, roughly $2 million needed item for our fire department. That's been planned for several years, and we look for that truck to be delivered within this next fiscal year. We do have some sale property at the Johnson property on Cleveland Avenue. We have $1.8 million in the budget from the sale of some of that real estate there. You know, if you look through the budget, there are a lot of areas that we fund from the general fund that we don't have a lot of revenue for. Stormwater being one of those. As years ago, we took the stormwater off of our citizens and our businesses and put that into the general fund. And so that's a $314,000 expense. You know, the transient service, no one pays to ride the bus. So that's an expense to us. We do receive some grant money in there. We're very fortunate to operate a good 911 center with competent staff and good leadership there. But that's almost a $1 million loss to us as the city operating that 911 center. But a needed service, it goes back in saying one of our focused items is essential services, and 911 obviously is a big piece of that. We do have some proceeds that are yet to receive from the American Legion project. We've got some bond payments. We fund the cultural center with maintenance and utilities, and we don't see any revenue from the cultural center. There are some expenses in the budget relating to the Johnson property. So as that develops out, we know we're going to have some expenses related to that. We are fortunate to operate a good landfill for the staff that's there and all the work that they do. We generate positive income from the landfill, and that helps us to carry forward with some other items in the budget. So we're very fortunate in that process. So looking at this budget, I mean, when you look at the budget, it's a big number. And when you look at the growth that we've had in budget items over the years, it continues to grow. I don't know where this budget will go in years to the future, but you're looking at a $34 million budget, and the prior year roughly $30 million. And so, that's a $4 million increase. As I mentioned, we're up about 13% in that. So a lot of activity. What this budget should tell us as a council is that as a community, as a city, we have a lot of moving parts. Last year, in the fiscal year we're still in, we took on the bond. We haven't had bonds for a number of years, and so we looked at a way to grow some areas that needed the growth in our community and went to the bond market. Very fortunate in that. But now we have the expense side of that. However, we hopefully will enjoy the revenue from that, and it's good for our citizens to have added services. So we've got property we own, we've got upkeep to do, we have payrolls to meet, equipment to buy, bond payments to make, bond payments to receive, grants to apply for. So in this budget, it'll be a challenge. However, I think it's a realistic budget for the city to move forward. And that's the key part of this, is for the city to move forward, and that the residents in our Glasgow know that we're looking to keep the city on track. A lot of positive things are happening in our community, and this budget can work alongside all of those activities that we have now going on in our community. So I would recommend to all of my fellow council members that we move forward with the proposed budget by the mayor's office.
Thank you. All right, we're still up on the discussion part where we have a motion and a second to approve the first reading of the budget. Is there further discussion?
I'm probably going to say a few things if you don't care. Appreciate all the work. I know it's not easy putting 155, 200 pages together and those numbers, and so all the work that Terry and the Finance Committee has done. And quite frankly, I've gone through this over and over, and I really still don't completely understand all of it. I do have one, let me ask one quick question on this that you're reading. This FAR number on the bottom right, the 21 million, 21,671,239. That is the, that's what,
That would be the amount in excess after the end of this upcoming budget year. In other words, it would be the carryover for 2026, 2027.
okay, well, that sure makes you feel a lot better. I've never seen that number, and that, you always talk about all these other, where the money, and we never did see it, but that, I'll take a sigh of relief for that. I do appreciate what this council, and those of you that have been on here a while, you've done to get to that point. You know, you need to deserve a pat on the back, because as somebody who's been around here a while, we've all watched industry leap. I try to not quote Terry, but remember some of the things he says about what it takes, what we need to people to be employed and work, and about 2 or 3 things he named. And that's hard when the factory shuts down, so you don't have those things. So not only, you know, I don't know how, you know, revenue gets where it's at, but you've lost a lot of things that at one time produced a lot of revenue. And then you think of the things you've gained from a city that you didn't pay for. I mean, the city didn't always take care of the plaza, correct?
Right, no.
City didn't always provide a bus transfer. You know, again, you said, if I remember right, you correct me, that was about a $500,000 plaza. You know, good thing, but it still cost us about a $500,000 to run that. About $82,000 to run the bus service and animal control, entertain Glasgow. Those are all, Freddie probably remembers them. I don't know who else has been here, but before that you've had that. I mean, I remember probably before there was a 911 center. I was not up here, but that's not, you know, that's $1 million thing. So the city has done a great job of, you start looking at things at cultural center. There's not always been a cultural center. So you have added all those things in, plus you've had some things, I won't say negative, but some things leave town, businesses here or there. So making that all work is, you know, hats off to you. I will pat the people on the back that's made that. And then I started looking at the, you know, you provided the 2021 numbers versus the 2025 numbers. And, you know, you've had some large increases. I looked at administration is up 65% expense-wise. That doesn't mean I didn't, you know, I did look at revenue, but expense-wise, your administrative costs are 65%, your police department expenses are up 44%, animal control was up 21%, recreation department up 63%, plazas 27%, cemetery 40%. Those are expenses that have gone, that's from 2021 to 2025. I was comparing both ends of that chart. So again, that's how you're doing this and making that happen with those increases. And those weren't, you know, when I say the police got what I say, that's over 5 years. You know, they're not getting 8% raises. I doubt. They'd probably like to have 8% raises every year, but I know that's not happening with equipment. But on paper, that's where it shows the expenses are. So again, I look at that and you know, I appreciate however y'all are making that work, whether it's the people from 30 years ago that have saved so much money to be able to make this stuff happen. The only question I really had, and I told Maddie I would probably ask this on the budget, was you know, I look at 2 things. To balance that budget this year to get you to the 30, whatever it is, 34 versus 33, you got a 2.1 on there for Parks and Rec, and that's basically bond payment, correct? And you're counting that. That's because we know Parks and Rec is not bringing in $2.1 million. So that is bond? We're just using really what is debt service bond, but we're counting it as income. Is that correct?
Well, it's the proceeds from what we will draw on the bond. All that money's not been drawn out yet. So we have to run it through the budget so that we can, it's got to come through all the accounts.
But the bond is it's like me going out to borrow money against my house.
Oh, yeah,
You borrow money.
it's
And
a debt of the city,
The pool
yes.
is about a $9 or $10 million project, and did you bond about $5 or $6 million?
But,
Below 5?
yeah.
So, you know, and that's okay. I understand that's, you know, it makes the budget balance, and we're also counting 1.6 or 8 that, you know, on this property sale to also balance that budget, correct?
Right.
Okay. And hopefully, you know, you got more value than 1.6 out there to sell, and yet you have plans. I mean, what I have learned in this is about our biggest say-so on this. This is the budget. Henry he's the guy, he's the man, and he makes the calls and decisions. That's just the way the government's set up, and you know, I trust in what he's doing. I would love for him to, at the end of the year, have more than $79,000 at his disposal to make, you know, a wall fix real quick, or a pedestal, you know, not being, we're cramped because, you know, we'll make sure we're going to stay within budget. I know he's going to do what's best, but I would still like him, that's kind of what I would like to see in the budget-wise, is maybe tighten the screws a little bit so he has more money at his dispersal at the end of the year. But, you know, again, hats off to all you that have done this before. I've spent many hours looking at this. Again, I kind of, looking at the 2.1 always kind of, it goes off, you know, because I say next year, what can you do that again next year? Well, you can't do it 3 years in a row, because 2.1 times 3 is 6.2, and you only bonded $5 million. You follow me? You're kind of using that money. But I mean, when the rec department comes around, we won't be able to put $2 million in that next year, correct? Yeah. Well, hopefully it won't. Hopefully all
we
will
won't
be
have
gone.
that
We won't have a
expense
need.
either.
You've got to remember, though, if you've got the sources and uses, what you got to think about. So your source is your bond proceeds. So I've got bond proceeds, then my uses is the expenditures at American Legion. So once we get the needs that we got to pay on the construction, then that expense won't be in this budget likewise. So they offset each other. Okay, so
But
the
it's
sources and uses.
But it's still a 10-year payment. Is that a 10-year
Yeah,
bond?
it'll
So
be
you're still
yeah,
making payments,
payment.
interest and principal, correct?
Yeah,
For 10 years.
But we haven't drawn, yeah.
But plus you have the other 4 or 5 million that also needs to be paid. That's not bond. That bond's not taken care of on that pool, because you said it's a $9 or $10 million project, right?
we have money already set aside
Money's
for that.
in there for that.
That-
We're not borrowing all the money.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I see the 21 million. So that again, what makes me feel a little better about this, because I see a pretty big chunk of money here still.
And the other item is we've got a fire truck that's $2 million, and you know, if we didn't have a fire truck in this forthcoming budget, then you're looking at a $2.4 million, almost $2.5 million revenue surplus. But we've got a fire truck that we've got to
Right.
pay
I
for,
understand
and we're not borrowing any funds for that fire truck. We're paying that out of the funds that we have through the operation of the cities.
Yeah, and of course, we're drawing the bonds. We haven't drawn all the proceeds from the bonds yet either. That's the reason why that number, you're seeing a total number that we haven't drawn just yet. So we will, as the different billings for the pool come in, you'll see that be drawn out, but we're not going to spend it until it's due. That's another reason why it looks separate. But good, very, very good discussion. I'm certainly impressed with your looking at it, because it's important that people look at it, and if you study it, it's pretty easy to understand, but it's fairly intimidating when you first look at it, for sure. Okay, further discussion.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Mayor, I believe, I don't know who said it, Terry, you, Stephanie, it doesn't matter, I guess, that we have an okay sound budget. I heard someone say that. And I've got some questions right now. If we have an okay sound budget if we sell some property from the former Johnson property that we purchased. What if we don't? Is that in the works? Is that...
Yeah, it's very much in the works, and we have very much interest in that.
Okay. The expenses and the initial development of that land, is that in the budget?
we've actually paid a great deal of that down.
Well, there are expenditures in this budget for more development at the Johnson property, yes.
Is that a one-time thing, or is that keep going? Like, is there just, I guess, the initial development, is that like something that is just in, you do that one time?
There'll be expenditures with that property just developing it. I mean, we'll have costs in it. There's engineering costs. There's, costs for, moving dirt. There's going to be a lot of different costs that are just any development that you do. So we, in this case, think of us as owning a subdivision, and I'm putting in streets, and I'm putting in culverts, and I'm making sure utilities are running the property, there's grading, all those what we call soft costs in some regard, but there are some other costs that aren't soft costs. But those are in this budget for the Johnson property, and we're to the tune of about $800,000 in costs for the Johnson property.
Does this budget allocate department raises? Do you guys?
It does.
It does?
Any other questions? All right. Okay. No more discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor of passing first reading of the budget indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed, like sign. Okay. The first reading of the budget has passed. Thank you very much. And it is a living, breathing document that there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that has gone into it, and I think that it will serve us well as we, attack the year ahead. We also have a municipal order regarding our handbook.
Last action item is a municipal order amending the city's personnel handbook. Be it hereby ordained by the City Council of Glasgow that the city's personnel handbook, sections 2.8, 3.8, 3.10, 3.13, 3.17, 6.2, 6.3, 6.7, and 6.8 shall be and hereby are amended as shown on Exhibit A attached here 2. All deletions are indicated by a solid single line drawn through the deleted portions. All additions are indicated by the underlined sections highlighted in blue. Each amended section has an explanation prepared by Human Resources Director Lance Crimmins, which is highlighted in yellow. So ordered by the council this 9th day of June 2025.
All right, you've heard the reading of this municipal order. I will entertain a motion that we approve it.
Motion Lowry.
Okay, and a second by Councilman Kirkpatrick. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And the order is approved. I would encourage you to look at your packet as it was presented to you. There's a number of appointments and reappointments for your consideration that we will be taking into consideration at the next council meeting. A few announcements. The big car show that we're looking forward to again, which is another action-packed day, and we'll certainly cram the square on the 21st day of June. Be ready for that. 24th day of June is a really important joint City-County Planning Commission public meeting. It'll be right here in this particular room, 6 till 7:30. This is an open meeting forum discussing the urban and infill housing initiative for Glasgow, along with a discussion of the new state regulations for qualified manufactured homes. A lot of discussion about that going on, so you want to be sure and get here on the 24th. We have at Beaver Creek Park Friday, June the 20th, the Summer Movie in the Park event, 7 p.m. Come early and grab your spot. This year's feature film is the heartwarming family adventure, The Wild Robot. A perfect pick for viewers of all ages. Pack your blankets, lawn chairs, and don't forget the kids, friends, and neighbors. Enjoy a relaxing night surrounded by nature as you watch a great movie under the open sky. Admission is absolutely free, and the memories are going to be priceless. We have the Glasgow Renaissance Spring Cruise in, which I already told you about. And let's see, we've got the Barron County Fair that's going to be coming up on the 21st, starting on the 21st at the Temple Hill Fairgrounds. They always do a nice job with that. And then we also have a closing for you. City of Glasgow City Hall and City Services will observe the celebration of Juneteenth, which is going to be on Thursday, June the 19th. And so you can plan accordingly. There won't be any garbage routes run. City Hall will not be open. Those types of things in celebration of Juneteenth. At this point, I will entertain a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Motion, Kirkpatrick.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for your attendance.
Stephanie,